rather be with you.
Hello and welcome to the Fiber Tales podcast. My name is Lærke and this is a podcast all about knitting, about my work as a knitwear designer and about anything else creative I feel like sharing with you guys. I'm coming to you from the southern part of Fyn in Denmark, where I live with my partner and our 2 small children and a pair of cats that I don't know where they are right now, but they might join me at some point during the episode. I have a little bit of knitting to share with you today, but mainly I wanted to talk about unspun yarn. It's something that I really love using in my patterns. And I know I get a lot of questions about it, so I thought to make a little episode talking about unspun yarn, the benefits, the properties, and also just what you can substitute it with if you don't like the more rustic yarn. But before I get into all that, I wanted to talk a little bit, just chat a little bit about what I've been up to since the last time I podcasted. It's been, I think, about a month. And a few things have happened, and it's just generally been a little bit of a uncertain and stressful period. I feel like I've been watching the news a lot. I've been feeling a little bit discouraged and nervous about the world. I'm a parent, so I just see the world changing a lot. And without going too much into political stuff, it's been a little bit strange because I grew up in a world that looked a certain way and I see everything is changing, and it just made me, oh, there's a cat. It just made me a little bit nervous and feel, I was getting too much sucked into the whole checking the news and what has happened. Every day something new happened. And so just to combat that a bit, I've just been immersing myself into some house projects. I really love doing house projects. And we've been doing quite a few on the house. It's mainly me, since I'm home, I have a little more time. And I am the one in the house with the most ideas about what I like. I always consult my partner, but it's just not his interest so much as it is mine. And he is happy with me doing what I like to do. So when I say me, it sounds like I'm the only one making decisions. It's not. I always ask him, but generally he's like, you can decide, it looks good. So we've just been working on different things, and the latest project I am really happy working on is the bedroom. It's been a dream of mine to change our bedroom since we moved here. It was very green with the different tones of green, and I love green, but those were some really strong green colors and it didn't feel calming for me, and a bedroom should feel nice and calming. So I've been working on that, putting up wallpaper. It's been a lot of fun and a little bit stressful, as you will know if you've tried it before, or if you watched my house journal episode where I put wallpaper in my daughter's room. That it's just a very steep learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, more or less, it's a lot of fun, and it's so satisfying to see what it looks like after. So I am making a video for that will go up on this channel, but just it has a different name. It's not the part of the podcast episode series. And then I have been busy handling a lot of yarn. I have been packing orders. So I think it's about 4 weeks ago, I had the first shop update where I sell my parents' yarn from my parents' sheep. And it's always a lot of fun and always a little bit exciting to see if it will sell and so on. And the first shop update sold out really quickly. So I've been packing up all those orders, going to everywhere in the world, and I really love packing orders. I wouldn't be happy having a web shop, I don't think, but just a few times a year, it's a lot of fun, and making them look nice and so on, wrapping them in brown paper, and I just really love that process. So I got all the orders out. I think it took me a week and a half, about that. I always put a good amount of time for me to finish all the orders, because again, I don't have a whole setup like a web shop, so it just takes me some time, and I do it slowly and with a lot of love, and everyone seems to be so sweet about it taking a bit more time. And then we had a week of holiday here where the kids were home. We call it the winter holiday. It's just 1 week. and we just did different things. The kids were here, and it was very nice to have a week with them home. And then I was working. I spent last week working on the bedroom, and then now I put up the shop update this Sunday. Last Sunday it was. So and there's still some yarn left. The second shop update is normally a lot more quiet. There's still some yarn left, both the lighter gray or the medium gray and the charcoal color. So if you didn't manage to grab anything in the first episode, or you don't like when it gets too busy, I would recommend you go and take a look. I will leave a link for my shop down below. I hope there's still some left when this video goes up. I don't think I can have it ready today, or maybe I can, but if not, I'm sorry. It's always hard to record a video talking about something and then it takes some time to edit it and get it out. But yeah, there's still some yarn left, and it's just been really nice to have that little experience of having a shop. Yeah. The only thing I've been knitting on this week has been this big blob. I'm not going to show you too much because it's a design work in progress. And I'm at the ribbing at the bottom, so I just knit the whole body, front and back, and then I'm at the bottom, and I need to knit the sleeves and the neckband. The only thing is I don't think I have enough yarn, and it's always such a hassle trying to order from the same dye lot and so on when it's smaller companies. This yarn is the Retrosaria Rosa Pomar Brusca, and it is a very nice yarn, so I should probably get busy ordering another skein just so I don't run out. I'm pretty sure I will need another skein or another ball. So I've been knitting on this a little bit, but honestly, as I said in the beginning, I haven't been knitting a lot. It just felt a little bit, I don't know, I didn't feel so inspired. And I spent a lot of time looking on Marketplace and that takes a little bit away from my knitting time. So when I'm watching TV or something in the evening, I will look on Marketplace for different things, lamps and stuff for the bedroom. I always love finding my things secondhand. So, but yeah, I will talk more about this design when it's ready, but I have been knitting a bit on this one and it's been a lovely yarn to work on and a lovely project. Let's talk a little bit about unspun yarn and what you can use it for and what are the benefits and what are some of the negatives. So a little bit of a pro and con list. I've worked with different kinds of unspun. I think I worked with 3 different kinds only, 3 different brands. So they all are a little bit different and have different qualities. The one I think I will start with is one I've been using a lot lately, and that is the one from Wool Dreamers. It's called Plötulopi. And I made my Pecon sweater, the one you can see here. I made this one in Plötulopi and silk mohair, and it is very soft yarn. When you have the ball, the big plate, I don't have any left. I only have a little ball. It's very puffy, a little bit like a cotton. How you call it, a cotton ball, so like very fluffy, but it actually held, at least the things I've knit in it has held up beautifully. I don't find a lot of issues with peeling. That would be my worry when you have a very unspun yarn, is will it start peeling a lot, but at least for now it hasn't. And I have this one and another sweater that I wear a lot, that I knit with this combination. I normally hold this yarn either double or with another, or I would recommend holding it double. I never made anything holding it double, but I would recommend either holding it double or with silk mohair. It's definitely easier if you work with Plötulopi to hold it double, because it is the plate is wound, has been wounded. The plate has 2 strands of yarn going together all the time. So if you want to use a single strand, like I did with the silk mohair, you need to unwind the ball or the plate into balls and then work from those balls. At least that's what I find the most helpful. But the silk mohair just gives it that strength, so it's not so easy to break. And there's a little bit of a branch in there. And if not, if you hold it double, then you will also get strength from the the two strands together will be stronger. But if you have it just by itself, I think it would be very easy to break the yarn all the time and would be hard to work with. I find this very soft. For me, this is super soft and pleasant. It is very dry soft, but there are no long staples. You don't have these long, well, there are a few, but very little long hairs since it's a merino. So the fibers are very short and fluffy and easy to wear close to skin. I really enjoy it. I find this is the softest of the silk mohairs. No, not the silk mohairs, of the unspun yarns that I've used. And the one I find the easiest to wear of them. So if you want to try an unspun, the Plötulopi is really soft, but it is also the one that is the easiest, the hardest to knit with, I think, or that breaks the easiest, unless you're working it together with something else. So when I have it together with the silk mohair, I can pull it because the silk mohair kind of, it acts as a little stabilizer, and when I have it on its own, it will just break. So definitely I recommend the silk mohair for strength, or something else. You could use some other yarn, but it has to be something that is a lot more sturdy than the Plötulopi if you want to make it easier for yourself. So the softness comes with a price with this yarn, but I think it is, once you work it with something else or itself, it makes it just super easy to work with, and it forces you to have a soft hand when knitting, so you cannot tense up too much, and I really enjoy that process. I think the next one I will talk about is Nutiden from Høna og Ejer, and I have this big cozy shawl that is my gold shawl that I made in Nutiden, and it is huge. If I remember correctly, I held 2 strands double for this one. This one is probably the second softest. I cannot speak to all Nutiden yarn because I know they have different blends and different colors. I have a color here that is Nutiden. It's not the same. This is something I got for another project. I think, is it the same? No, this one is different. This one is more pink and the other one is more muted. And Nutiden is generally a little bit more of a mix, so it has more long staples, more darker hairs, and at least the ones I've seen. But so it's a little more rustic. I still can easily wear it next to, but I'm not that sensitive. I think it's really soft. And Nutiden comes in so many beautiful colors. They have different collections. It's made at a small Swedish mill by a wonderful family, and I really love they have some beautiful colors, very muted tones, but they also have some very clear tones, so depending on what you like, you can find something for sure. And I don't think they repeat the colorways, so you have to kind of look for their collections coming up. I will put a link to them as well as the Plötulopi down below. But yeah, it's a little more rustic, but the colors definitely make up for it. But one thing, and you might ask, so why do you want to use this yarn if it's more rustic and it's more... the reason I really love the look of unspun yarn is it just is absolutely beautiful and soft. It has a wonderful halo, and a lot of the texture patterns, I love to work texture into my knitwear, and a lot of the texture just looks so beautiful. For instance, this one, it just looks so feathery and soft, and it kind of softens the lines, so it's a little bit like watercolor in my head, like making textured patterns with unspun yarn gets it a little bit of this watercolor effect, and then it's very light. That's the other thing. All these garments are super light and super warm. They're very warm, but they are not heavy, and other types of wool can be a lot heavier. So this whole big shawl is just super lightweight. It doesn't weigh anything. It doesn't feel heavy. I can wrap up in it like a big blanket, but it's not like a big heavy thing is very lofty, has a lot of air trapped in there, and it makes it super warm. So it just, some of the properties I really like about designing with unspun yarn and knitting with it is this light fluffy texture. No, this, I think the sun went away for a little bit. Let me see if I can make sure you can see me. Here we go. The sun comes out from time to time, and it just makes it a little harder to see. The last one that I wanted to talk about, and the one that I think most people know about, is Plötulopi. It's the Icelandic unspun yarn, very famous and very rustic. This one is definitely more rustic than the others. They come in these plates. I didn't have any untouched plates. They come in these plates, and you can kind of pull from the middle, as you see I've done here, and pull from the outside if you want to make it more, if you want to use 2 strands at the time. I forgot a design. I'm not gonna go get it. I showed it in a recent video. I think the one where I talked about my least popular patterns. And that is my lapis sweater. That one is knit. It's very heavy, big, thick sweater where I use 2 strands of Plötulopi from Istex. And so I think this skein is from that, when I knit that sweater, and I use one strand from the inside and 1 strand from the outside. Okay, it's getting blown out a little bit again. I also used it, here we have a green. This is the forest, is it called forest green? Again, I will put the colors below. And I used it in my Baka shawl. And the green here is just absolutely beautiful. Again, for this one, I used a strand of silk mohair together with the strand of the Plötulopi. I don't know if you can see the color difference. I will try to put a little video of it. It just warmed the color up a little bit. But again, I think the silk mohair adds some softness and adds some durability. And I just love this combination. But again, you could knit it with 2 strands. I think this one, if I knit it with 2 strands, it would have been much more chunky and bulky and heavy, and I would have to knit it on a bigger needle. But using the silk mohair just keeps it very light and flowy. It has a nice drape, I think, so even if it's a rustic yarn, you can get a nice drape with it. Istex is or the Plötulopi from Istex. Sorry again, it's just changing a lot right now, the light. Istex is, Plötulopi from Istex. It's very easy to get everywhere, that's what I wanted to say. It's not very expensive, so this one you can get your hands on, and they have some really beautiful colors. I really like the green, that I think is, I'll put the name below. And then there's the one I used for my lapis sweater that is like this very beautiful brown with some warm specks and so on. And it's, is it frozen earth? Frozen ground? Something frozen. Those, I love their heathered colorways, but they also have more solid colorways. They have so many colorways and they're beautiful. And you could also, when you talk about the Plötulopi, you could hold it together with the Unspun, which is like a 1 strand unspun, but it's a little stronger. I think it has a twist, but it's a single ply, and you could hold it together with that if you want to keep it light, but give it a little more strength. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun to work with. But if you look at this one, you can see all the little hairs sticking out, and they have, the staples are so much longer because the Icelandic sheep have an outer coat and an undercoat, and that makes the yarn is more sturdy, but it's also more prickly. It's definitely the most prickly one. So if you're sensitive to itchy or rustic wool, I would say be careful with this one, but maybe consider it for outer garments. So a shawl might not be good if you're wearing it close to skin, but a sweater with something high neck or with long sleeves under would be fine, at least for me. So you have to think a bit about what you make with it. And again, I just love, you can see I use this braid motif in both my designs, and they look quite different in these two designs. Here you can maybe see them. One is more fuzzy and the other one is just more I don't even know how to explain that. It's just the fibers have a different look. One is more round and curled, and the other one is more long staples. And you can get the same effect by using mohair a little bit. So I just took another shawl to show you. So here's a shawl that's knit with 2 strands, but it's just knitting for olive merino. So just a normal woolen spun plied merino with a silk mohair, and you get the same kind of fuzzy effect, but this is much softer and not as warm. Definitely these 2 shawls I wear when it's cold outside, and this one I wear when it's not so cold. But this one is much softer next to skin, again, depending on if you are sensitive to mohair. This is much more drapey as well. Of course, it's a finer yarn, but you can get a bit of the same effect using mohair. So people often ask me what I can substitute with when I make patterns with when I use Unspun. If they say they don't want to use Unspun, then they ask what they can substitute with. And I think using some yarn with mohair gives a little bit of the same fuzzy texture. So that's one way to do it. Another way to substitute, or another thing you can use to substitute is a blown yarn. So here, for example, I have a blown yarn that's called Snefnug from Camarose, which is a Danish yarn brand. And just to show you the texture a little bit here, this is just was a children design I worked on once. Again, I love the braids, so you can see it was actually a smaller version of my Favo sweater just for kids, and I never finished it, so I am unraveling it. But I thought before I unravel it, I just wanted to show how it has a very similar texture when knit up, very similar feel. It looks more fuzzy, it's very light, the blow yarn, and it's extremely soft. So if you feel like, if you don't like the rustic feeling of an unspun yarn, I think a blow yarn could be a good option. The only thing is many of the blow yarns I've found I have synthetic fibers in there, or use a mix of natural and synthetic fibers. If I'm not mistaken, this one is a cotton, like a little cotton tubing, and where they blow the yarn into. So, but many times the blow yarns have a artificial kind of tube inside. So depending on how you feel about that, I don't like using artificial fibers, but if you don't mind, then that's totally fine. But yeah, it's just very soft and has a very similar feel, very similar light feel to the Unspun, but just a different texture. I would say this, for instance, when you hold mohair together with a wool yarn, it is not as light. It's still light, but this one has more, as I said, more drape and feels a little more heavy, and this is so much lighter. Whoop. It's flying around, but it's just so much lighter. So again, if you want that light effect, that very similar look to the Unspun yarn, I would maybe look at some blow yarns. I know that they have become more popular, so maybe you can find different ones. I knit this one once. I think this yarn is from a fabric store called Selfmade, but they also sell yarn. I don't remember the name right now, but they have their own yarn brand-ish. This one I know that it has different fibers in here. I knit this long time ago for photography, so I use it in my client wardrobe when I take pictures of children and it's cold out. I always have some sweaters they can just throw on. This is not my own pattern, it's a pattern. I will try to remember what pattern it is and put it below. But you can see it has a similar feel. It's also blow yarn, similar feel, very soft, squishy. Now this is brioche, so it's a bit more heavy because a lot of yarn goes into knitting brioche. It's more dense fabric in some ways. But it has a lot of the same qualities, but just soft. It has a bit of the same look to it. I think the Camarose is a little more fuzzy than this one, for instance. So depending on what you're looking for, you should check the different blow yarns. I also know there are some yarns I haven't tried, but there are some brushed alpaca yarns. I think, is it Sandness that has one that's called, it's just called brushed alpaca. Cannot remember right now, I don't have it here, but I looked at that one and thought it also gives a similar effect to an unspun yarn. And one that I've seen recently that I really want to try is the one called Fivel. I think it's from it's a Norwegian yarn, and right now I'm blanking on the producer, but I will put it below as well. That one has a very soft, fluffy look, and I think that one might also be a possibility. I don't know about the thickness. I think it's more bulky, so it would probably be more like if you hold two strands together of that one, it would be similar to one strand of that one would be similar to two strands of an unspun. But as I haven't tried it, I cannot tell you for sure. The thing with the unspun is you can knit it on many different gauges as well, depending on what you want. So this one I knit on a quite open gauge, and the same with this one. And I remember this one is more thin. This Nutiden yarn was thinner than for example, Plötulopi. So you couldn't just substitute 2 strands of Plötulopi with 2 strands of Nutiden. It wouldn't work because they're different thicknesses. And I know for me that was a bit difficult because Nutiden has, at least when I bought it and used it for designs, it was a little hard with the amounts of, you buy it by weight, but you don't know how many meters you have, I think. And that was just a little hard to figure out what it would compare to in terms of thickness. So when you work with these types of yarn, it can be a little more of a challenge. It's not always you can just say use this yarn instead, but you would have to kind of play around with them and see what fabric you get and if you like the fabric. But let's say if I have the blow yarn from Camarose and the one from Nutiden, you can see here they are quite similar in thickness. I'll try to hold it up on my hand, maybe you can get a better look. So I think these could be interchangeable, but it depends a lot on the yarn. Again, it's always about if you like the fabric you get out of it. You can use different needle sizes, different gauges, but if the fabric gets too dense, it's not nice, or too loose, it's not nice. So it's a little bit of a make a swatch and see if you like it kind of situation. So yeah, I think I talked enough about it. If you have any questions, I would love to try to answer them in the comments. If you have any questions about unspun yarn, I didn't go into all the details about how you knit with it. I could make a whole nother video talking about that, but I think I talked about it previously, and I know there are a lot of people who made videos about unspun yarn, but I thought it was fun to, also for me as a designer, why I pick this yarn, why I love to work with it, why I choose it, because I feel sometimes people tell me, oh, but it's not such a popular yarn, and maybe try to design with something else. But it's, for me, you can just substitute. It's so easy to substitute yarns. I know it's not the same for everyone else, but when I make a design, it's just a suggestion. You could make it with anything else. Some things will work better than others, but generally it's not, any design you see can be made with different yarns, depending on your budget, your preferences, your how you feel, what you can get your hands on, all these things. So don't be so afraid to try different yarns instead of the ones that are mentioned in the pattern. It's a lot of fun to play around with. Maybe just order one skein first to see if you like how it looks. especially, for example, if you were knitting the pericon, I would try to make this make a swatch of the main pattern and see if it looks nice in a different yarn. And if you like how it looks, then it's good to go. And if it doesn't work out, then it's okay to say, that didn't work out, that was not nice. I do that all the time when I have ideas for designs. I find that unspun yarns are very forgiving. When you knit with them, they fill out a lot. So it's easy to make something look good. It might not look, if you knit this one with a very thin and harder spun yarn or like a worsted spun, then it will look more open. There will be more holes going down the front, whereas the unspun yarn fills out the holes very beautifully. But you can also find that with a spun yarn that's very lofty again, or a blow yarn or something else. I hope this was helpful. I hope you're all doing well out there and feel positive about the world and not too discouraged. But it can be a little bit hard these days. So I hope this episode brought you a little bit of happiness and sunshine, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye!